Someone asks you for a favor, and you desperately want to avoid it. Your brain immediately starts formulating an excuse to say no, but before you can actually speak, your body reacts. Your chest tightens. A sharp, localized tension arrives a fraction of a second before the words leave your mouth. Completely bypassing your conscious intent, you hear yourself say, "Sure, no problem." That uncomfortable physical reaction is absolutely not what kindness feels like. Mistaking this involuntary physical survival reflex for being a good person is the hidden root cause of chronic exhaustion and relationship burnout. Society typically softens this behavior with labels like people-pleasing, making it sound like a mild personality quirk or an excess of politeness. Psychotherapist Pete Walker uses a much more precise clinical term. Alongside fight, flight, and freeze, he identified a fourth distinct response to trauma and chronic stress: fawning. True kindness requires agency. It is a conscious, willing choice. Fawning is a biological compulsion. Walker observed that when the nervous system detects a threat, it can attempt to neutralize that danger by becoming highly appealing and compliant, forcing you to abandon your own needs. Fawning is not a moral failing. It is an automatic, body-level mandate to survive, by carefully managing the emotional equilibrium of everyone in your surrounding environment. If you spend 5 minutes online, you will find someone diagnosing every minor compromise as a trauma response. Clinical psychology draws a much sharper line. This diagram illustrates the markers separating politeness from an active fawn response. First, an inability to decline requests with immense guilt. Second, chronic neglect of your own needs. Third, taking full responsibility for another's emotional state. Finally, building an identity around being helpful. True fawning requires the complete erasure of the self in order to keep a relationship stable. To understand why the body overrides the conscious mind to secure safety, we have to look at early attachment research. Pioneering psychologists like Mary Ainsworth studied how infants manage their physical proximity to parents to secure protection. Researchers Cindy Hazan and Philip Shaver found these mechanisms translate directly to adult romantic relationships. Roughly 20% of adults score high on attachment-related anxiety. Their brains run a continuous background process, pinging the question, "Is my partner available and responsive?" If this process detects friction, the nervous system bypasses conscious thought entirely. It forces you to say yes to secure safety before the conscious brain can intervene. The anxious brain always prioritizes immediate connection over your long-term well-being, because it interprets interpersonal friction as a literal threat to survival. Let's test this in an everyday scenario. Meet Maya. Over the course of a single day, she agrees to 3 heavy demands: a last-minute moving day, extra work from her boss, and hosting a large family holiday. We cannot evaluate Maya's decisions by looking at the outcomes. Instead, we have to decode her internal physical cues. When she agreed to each demand, did her body feel expansive, or did it physically contract? The only reliable way to diagnose our own motives is by translating the body's split-second physiological posture right before we take action. This reveals a harsh relational paradox. Fawning feels like a reliable strategy to save a relationship, but it is actually the mechanism that slowly erodes it. A 2018 study on boundary management permeability shows a high volume of giving does not positively correlate with partner satisfaction. While boundaries are often framed as rigid walls, flexible clarity, knowing where you end and your partner begins, is the actual predictor of relationship satisfaction. Endless, resentful giving creates a temporary illusion of peace. Clear boundary communication creates the actual safety required for a connection to survive. Breaking a biological reflex takes time, but you can start with a 1-week micro-practice. For the next 7 days, mandate a strict 5-second pause before answering any request. Use that pause to check your chest. If it feels tight, use a default script. Let me think about it. If it feels loose, your yes is a genuine choice. This is educational content, not professional advice. If you are struggling with severe trauma responses, please consult a licensed therapist. The word yes was never the problem. The unconsulted body was. The next time a demand is placed on you, intentionally drop your shoulders, take a breath, and see what changes when your yes